September 24th, Wednesday horror. Please prepare, ladies and gentlemen, as we gather here today. I want to draw your attention to a date that carries with it an unusual weight, a date whispered in warning, a date circled in shadows. September 24th, Wednesday. There are moments in history when time itself seems to pause, when the air feels heavy, and when even those who do not believe in signs cannot deny that something is stirring beneath the surface. September 24th is one of those moments. It is a day many have felt approaching, a day wrapped in mystery, prophecy, and unease. We often dismiss warnings until they knock at our very door, but wisdom demands that we prepare not when disaster strikes, but before the first tremors of chaos arrive. The phrase Wednesday horror is not spoken lightly. It reflects not just earthly disturbances, but spiritual ones, for the world is not as simple as it appears. Beneath the routines of daily life, there are unseen currents shaping events, pulling at nations, and testing individuals. On September 24th, those currents may break the surface in ways that will shock many and awaken even more. Now, this is not a call to panic. It is a call to awareness. Fear blinds, but preparation empowers. Horror is not always blood and shadows. Sometimes it is confusion, sudden change, or the unraveling of what we thought was secure. It can be economic instability, political upheaval, unexpected loss, or a shaking of the very ground we walk upon. But horror also carries a hidden blessing. It forces us to see clearly what we once ignored. It strips away illusions and shows us the truth of where we stand. History reminds us that significant dates often become turning points, moments when the ordinary collapses and the extraordinary begins. We have seen such days before, days of disaster, days of revelation, days when humanity had to choose between fear and faith. September 24th stands on the horizon as such a day. Whether its effects are global or personal, whether it manifests as outward chaos or inner confrontation, one thing is certain: it will not pass unnoticed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I speak with urgency today. Do not take this date lightly. Do not brush it off as superstition or mere coincidence. Instead, see it as a divine alarm clock, a reminder that time is moving quickly and that we must not be caught unprepared. Spiritual preparation, emotional readiness, and mental clarity are not optional. They are essential. Those who anchor themselves in strength and faith will endure, while those who drift with the tides of fear will be overwhelmed. So let us not approach September 24th with trembling, but with vigilance. Let us prepare our hearts, sharpen our awareness, and steady our steps, for when the horror comes, those who are ready will not crumble. Instead, they will rise. A date is not simply a mark on the calendar. It is not just ink pressed against paper, nor digits on a screen that roll past in routine. A date carries within it a vibration, an energy, a resonance that can call forth events, shake the unseen, and disturb the patterns of the seen. September 24th is such a date. It is a day clothed in mystery, a Wednesday wrapped in shadows, a moment that refuses to be ignored. To those who walk blindly, it may appear as any other day. To those whose eyes are open, it is a signal, a whisper from beyond, warning and preparing. Every era has its marked days, moments when destiny seems to lean in closer, when time itself grows heavy, and when the very air feels thick with anticipation. September 24th has been set apart as such a day. It is not simply coincidence. It is a ripple in the fabric of reality, a reminder that history is not random but patterned, orchestrated, and aligned with forces greater than human understanding. When we say it is a date marked in shadows, we acknowledge that the forces surrounding it are not fully revealed, that they move like specters behind curtains, waiting for their appointed hour. Shadows are not always evil. They are the evidence of light obstructed. They are the proof that something greater is present, something standing between the source of illumination and our perception. To call September 24th a date marked in shadows is to confess that light is shining, but something looms, altering the clarity of what is seen. It means the day itself carries weight, significance, a divine appointment that will not be dismissed. Some may laugh at the thought of a single date holding power, They live as though time is neutral, as though every sunrise is the same, as though there are no appointed seasons. Yet, look at creation. Seeds are not planted in winter but in spring. Harvest is not reaped in the cold but in the warmth of autumn. Even nature testifies that there are appointed times for sowing, times for waiting, and times for gathering. If creation itself obeys the mystery of appointed times, how much more will human life and history be subject to the same? September 24th, then, is no ordinary mark. It is an appointed season, and its shadows declare that what is hidden will soon demand to be seen. The power of this day lies not in superstition, but in alignment. There are moments when the collective energy of humanity intersects with spiritual decrees. Sometimes that intersection births breakthroughs, revolutions, and awakenings. Other times it reveals collapses, disruptions, and horror. To those asleep, it will come as sudden chaos. To those awake, it will appear as prophecy fulfilled. The shadows surrounding this date remind us that not everything can be predicted with precision, but everything can be sensed with discernment. Shadows carry two qualities, fear and revelation. To the fearful, a shadow means danger, uncertainty, and threat. They shrink back, unable to walk forward because what lies ahead is unclear. To the awakened, however, a shadow means revelation. It means that something of substance is near, for shadows do not form without an object standing against the light. What many call a horror is in truth the shadow of revelation pressing against time. September 24th stands as a day when shadows lengthen, when that which has been hidden presses too close to remain unseen, and when humanity must face what has been lurking beyond the edges of awareness. Think of history's marked days. There were days when wars erupted unexpectedly, when towers fell, when economies collapsed overnight. To those unprepared, such days appeared out of nowhere, shocking and overwhelming. Yet to those who discerned the shadows, the signs had been whispering all along. September 24th carries the same echo. It will not come without signs, it will not unfold without whispers. The attentive will already feel its weight in the days leading up to it. The shadows lengthen gradually before they overtake the land at nightfall. To prepare for such a day is not to stockpile in fear or retreat into panic. It is to strengthen the inner man, to anchor the soul, to sharpen the spirit. The shadows warn us not to neglect what we have ignored. They push us to confront our illusions, our false securities, and our dependence on things that can vanish in a moment. Horror comes when what we cling to collapses. But wisdom comes when we learn, before the collapse, to cling to what cannot be shaken. On September 24th, the air itself may feel different. The mind may be restless, the body uneasy, the spirit stirred. Do not mistake this agitation for coincidence. It is the atmosphere of a marked day pressing itself into human consciousness. Some will dismiss it, choosing entertainment over awareness. Others will feel it deeply, unable to shake the sense that something is near. The difference between them is not luck, but perception. Those who understand shadows will not be caught off guard. They will know that the date has been written in the fabric of destiny, and that to be prepared is to be aligned. A date marked in shadows always tests humanity's response. Will we tremble or will we rise? Will we collapse in fear or stand in faith? The shadow does not exist to terrify, but to awaken. It demands that we see what we have avoided. It insists that we no longer delay what must be done. September 24th may not be the end of the world, but it will be the end of complacency for many. It will mark a shift, a disruption, a call to those who have been sleeping through the urgency of the times. Understand this. Shadows stretch longest just before nightfall. This means that whatever unfolds on September 24th is not final but transitional. It is a sign that greater darkness or greater light is approaching, depending on how we respond. The horror of the day is not its destruction but its exposure. It will expose weakness, lies, instability, and illusions, but it will also expose strength, truth, endurance, and clarity. Those who are ready will see the shadows and step forward. Those unready will retreat, overwhelmed by the very things they chose to ignore. The calendar is not neutral. September 24th is not random. It is marked, appointed, wrapped in shadows that demand attention. To those who laugh at the idea, the day will pass like a thief in the night, leaving them shaken. To those who discern, it will not be a thief but a teacher, a revealer, a shadow that proves light is near. The wise will not fear the shadow but read it as a sign. For a shadow is only proof that something real, something solid, something greater than light alone, is drawing close. There are days that slip through unnoticed, days that begin in silence and end in silence, days so ordinary that they leave no imprint on memory. But there are other days, rare days, that strike the soul with a strange awareness, a restlessness in the spirit, a trembling in the unseen. September 24th carries this character. It has been marked as a day of unsettling signs, a day when the veil between what is hidden and what is revealed grows thin, a day when the ordinary will be interrupted by the extraordinary. Unsettling signs are not always catastrophic events. They can be subtle shifts, quiet disturbances that rattle the certainty of what was once considered stable. A sudden silence in a normally noisy place, a change in weather that defies reason, a restless energy in the body that cannot be explained. These are the signs that whisper to those paying attention, something is near, something is shifting, something is awakening. The masses overlook them, but the discerning cannot ignore them. Signs are language. They are the handwriting of the unseen etched into the visible world. They carry messages from realms beyond sight, and they speak not to the ears but to the soul. An unsettling sign, therefore, is not meant to entertain or frighten. It is meant to awaken, to pull the observer into deeper awareness. September 24th stands as such a moment when the world itself will speak in symbols, patterns, and disruptions that demand interpretation. Consider the nature of signs throughout history. Before great floods the sky darkened, before empires fell, strange occurrences filled the heavens and the earth. Before shifts of power, nature trembled, economies wavered, and dreams intensified. These signs were never accidents. They were precursors, warnings, and confirmations that history was pivoting. Unsettling signs serve the same function today. They announce the arrival of a shift that human logic cannot fully explain, but human spirit can deeply sense. The unsettling quality lies in the disruption of normality. Humanity craves order, predictability, routine, but signs appear to break that comfort. They force us to confront the fragility of the world we think we control. A sudden event shakes a nation, an unexplained tragedy sweeps through a community, a personal crisis erupts without warning. On the surface, these appear as random chaos, but beneath them is the rhythm of signs pointing to deeper realities. September 24th holds the potential for such disturbances, not to destroy but to reveal. The unsettling aspect is magnified because signs rarely align with expectation. They come in ways that the mind does not anticipate. Humanity looks for thunder, but the sign arrives as silence. People expect fire, but the sign appears as a gentle wind. The horror of signs is not always in their violence, but in their strangeness, the way they unnerve us by defying the categories we have built. What makes September 24th frightening to some is not that it guarantees disaster, but that it promises disruption, and disruption is terrifying to those who rely on certainty. Signs manifest not only in the external world, but in the inner realm as well. Dreams intensify, intuition sharpens, restlessness grows. These two are unsettling signs. A man may wake with visions he cannot explain. A woman may feel dread pressing against her heart without cause. Entire groups of people may sense a heaviness in the atmosphere. These experiences are not madness. They are the inner echoes of outer signs, the soul resonating with shifts too deep for the intellect to grasp. September 24th will be such a day when many awaken to strange awareness, when their inner life testifies that something is moving beneath the surface. Unsettling signs also serve as tests. They separate the fearful from the faithful, the blind from the watchful, the distracted from the discerning. Most will brush them aside as coincidences, mere anomalies with no meaning, but the chosen will recognize them as divine language, as warnings and instructions for what lies ahead. The purpose of a sign is not to terrify but to direct. It is a compass in disguise, pointing to where attention must turn, where preparation must deepen, where faith must anchor. On September 24th, the world may witness such signs, weather that defies forecasts, events that defy explanation, energies that defy comfort. They may appear in politics, in nature, in personal lives, or in the atmosphere itself. But what matters most is not the sign itself, but the response to it. Will the observer tremble and retreat, or will they awaken and align? This is the test that unsettling signs always carry. They ask whether we will allow disturbance to paralyze us or to propel us into readiness. The unsettling nature of signs is also tied to exposure. They reveal what was hidden. A corruption long concealed suddenly comes to light. A lie deeply buried is suddenly uncovered. A secret long guarded bursts into the open. These revelations disturb because they shake the foundations of trust and stability. Yet this is the mercy of unsettling signs. They tear down illusions so that truth can be seen. September 24th may be a day when such exposures unfold, when the hidden is dragged into daylight, not to humiliate but to liberate. Signs also demand interpretation, and interpretation requires sensitivity. The same sign can be misread by different eyes. To one, it may appear as doom; to another, as deliverance; to one, it feels like the end; to another, it is the beginning. The sign itself is neutral. The meaning depends on the consciousness of the interpreter. This is why some will call September 24th a horror, while others will call it a revelation. The unsettling quality lies in its ambiguity. The sign will not speak in plain words, but in shadows, and only the awakened will hear its true message. Unsettling signs often cluster. One sign may pass unnoticed, but when they multiply, when they stack upon one another, when patterns form, then even the skeptical begin to wonder. A series of events too strange to dismiss will unfold, and suddenly what seemed random reveals itself as orchestrated. September 24th may serve as such a convergence, a day when scattered signs come together like pieces of a puzzle, painting a picture that can no longer be ignored. The purpose of such a day is not punishment but positioning. Signs realign people, shake systems, and redirect focus. They unsettle not to destroy, but to awaken. Those who cling to comfort will resist them. Those who embrace growth will welcome them. To the fearful, they will be horror. To the faithful, they will be confirmation. September 24th, then, will stand as a mirror reflecting back to humanity the state of its own heart. When the signs come, they will not wait for interpretation. They will appear suddenly, demandingly, as though tearing through the thin veil of reality. The wise will not dismiss them. They will lean in, listen, and prepare. The unwise will mock, scoff, and return to slumber. But the signs do not cease because they are ignored. They intensify until their message is undeniable. This is the nature of unsettling signs. They arrive quietly, they disturb deeply, and they transform permanently. They are not accidents but instruments, not chaos but communication. September 24th is such a day, a Wednesday carved into time as a vessel for signs that will unsettle, awaken, and divide. The shadows that surround it will not remain silent. They will speak, and the world will feel their voice. Preparation is the dividing line between those who endure and those who collapse. It is not the storm itself that destroys, but the lack of readiness when it arrives. September 24th has been whispered as a day marked by disturbance, a day cloaked in horror, a day of unsettling signs. But the true power of that day is not in the chaos it carries, it is in the response it demands. The shadows and the signs will not spare anyone, yet their effect will differ. For some they will bring terror, for others awakening. The difference will not be found in the outer world, but in the inner posture. That is why spiritual preparation is key. To prepare spiritually is to strengthen the unseen foundation, the core of your being that cannot be measured by wealth, status, or appearance. Many prepare outwardly. They gather possessions, they build walls, they craft plans. But when disruption comes, all these crumble like dust. The only preparation that endures is the one built within, the kind that no storm can strip away. Spiritual preparation makes a man unshakable in the midst of collapse, a woman unafraid in the presence of shadows. Without it, even the smallest disturbance becomes unbearable. With it, even the greatest horror becomes fuel for growth. Preparation is not fear. To prepare spiritually is not to tremble, expecting disaster. It is to stand upright, anchored, steady, knowing that whatever comes cannot overthrow the one who is rooted in truth. Fear drains energy, blinds discernment, and weakens resolve. Preparation restores clarity, strengthens courage, and aligns vision. On September 24th, when signs stir and shadows lengthen, it will not be the fearful who endure, but the prepared. The essence of spiritual preparation lies in awareness. To be spiritually prepared is to be awake, to refuse the slumber of distraction. The world lulls many to sleep with noise, entertainment, and trivial pursuits. When the appointed day arrives, they stumble as though drunk, unable to recognize the meaning of what unfolds. But the awakened are sober, alert, discerning. They do not waste their strength on illusions, but reserve it for truth. Their preparation is not in frantic activity, but in cultivated stillness, a readiness that flows from clarity of spirit. Preparation also demands discipline. The inner life must be trained as the body is trained. Just as muscles grow through resistance, so the spirit grows through practice. Prayer, meditation, silence, and reflection are not mere rituals. They are the weapons and tools of preparation. The untrained spirit panics at the first sign of trouble, but the disciplined spirit remains calm, interpreting signs with wisdom and responding with strength. September 24th will reveal the difference. The disciplined will not be swept into fear. They will see the disturbance as confirmation of what they already sensed, a call to stand firm rather than flee. Another dimension of preparation is detachment. Those bound tightly to the material, to possessions, to the fragile comforts of the world, will suffer greatly when those things shake. But the detached are free. They enjoy what they have, but they do not cling to it as life itself. Their treasure is within, anchored where no thief can steal and no storm can reach. When horror comes, it exposes where trust has been placed. Those who have trusted in the fragile will break. Those who have trusted in the eternal will stand. Spiritual preparation also sharpens perception. It teaches one to read signs rightly, to distinguish between noise and signal. Without preparation, a person is tossed by every disturbance, frightened by every shadow, misled by every rumor. But the prepared discern. They know the difference between a true warning and an empty distraction. They recognize the language of signs and understand the rhythm of shadows. On September 24th, many will be confused by the events of the day, unable to interpret what is happening. But the spiritually prepared will read it clearly, as one who has learned the language of heaven through long practice. One cannot wait until the storm arrives to begin preparation. The time is always before, never during. When the wave crashes, it is too late to build the boat. When the ground quakes, it is too late to lay the foundation. This is why the warning exists, not to terrify, but to give time. September 24th does not come to surprise those who are awake. It comes to test whether they have heeded the signs, whether they have built their house upon rock instead of sand. Spiritual preparation is not about predicting the exact form of events. It is about being unshakable regardless of their form. The shadow may manifest as loss, as revelation, as disruption, as silence, or as noise. No one can say with certainty how it will appear, but the prepared soul does not need certainty. They have anchored themselves in something deeper than circumstance. They have built their identity not on what changes, but on what endures. Therefore, whatever unfolds, they remain steady, untouched at the core, even if the outer world shakes violently. Another truth is that preparation protects not only the one who prepares, but also those connected to them. A single steady soul can become an anchor for many drifting in panic. A single voice of calm can silence the cries of chaos. A single light of clarity can illuminate the path for others stumbling in the dark. That is why preparation is not selfish, it is service. Those who prepare spiritually carry within themselves stability that can be shared. On September 24th, when fear ripples through crowds, those who are prepared will become beacons, drawing others out of despair into courage. Preparation also demands surrender. The spirit cannot be fortified while clinging to control. True strength arises when one releases the illusion of control and aligns with higher will. It is the yielding that becomes power, the surrender that becomes strength. Many resist this, trying to manage every outcome, to predict every possibility, but spiritual preparation teaches trust, the assurance that even in horror, purpose remains, that surrender frees the soul from panic, replacing it with unshakable peace. Signs will test the unprepared, shadows will terrify the unanchored, but to the spiritually prepared they are confirmations, reminders that the unseen is breaking into the seen. They do not collapse at the sight of horror because they know horror is never the final word. They recognize that disruption births transformation, and endings carry the seed of beginnings. Spiritual preparation transforms horror into revelation, turning what terrifies others into what strengthens them. This is why the whisper of September 24th must not be dismissed. It is not superstition nor empty fear, but an invitation to readiness. It is the mercy of forewarning, the grace of anticipation. To those who prepare, it will be a day of confirmation, not collapse. To those who neglect preparation, it will be a day of terror, not awakening. The difference lies not in the day itself, but in the soul's readiness. To be spiritually prepared is to live with vision beyond the surface, to stand when others fall, to discern when others are confused, to radiate peace when others tremble. This is the power that no storm can destroy, no shadow can obscure, no horror can overthrow. This is the preparation demanded by the times, for September 24th may be clothed in shadows and filled with signs, but only those who are prepared will see its meaning clearly. The weight of certain days does not remain confined to individuals, families, or even nations. There are moments in history when a vibration reverberates across borders, when events ripple like waves across oceans, touching the lives of the many, not just the few. September 24th carries this kind of vibration. It is not a local disturbance, not a whisper confined to a single household, but a tremor that moves outward, unsettling the collective. The signs and shadows of this day are not merely personal omens, they are global echoes. The world will feel it. When the world feels a date, it means that patterns shift on a massive scale. It means weather bends unnaturally, economies tremble unexpectedly, leaders act out of character, and populations sense an unease that cannot be traced to one cause. The ordinary explanation fails because what is unfolding is not rooted in the seen but in the unseen. The physical world merely mirrors the disturbance in the spiritual realm. On such days, humanity feels it collectively, though few can explain why. September 24th stands as such a day, when the weight of invisible forces presses against the visible world until everyone senses the pressure. The world will feel it in the air. There will be heaviness that even the most skeptical cannot deny. Some will speak of restlessness, others of dread, still others of strange anticipation. The animals may sense it before humans do, for creation often perceives what humanity ignores. Birds fly differently, dogs grow uneasy, cats stare into corners as if seeing what is hidden. The natural order will respond to the spiritual pressure, and in this response the signs of September 24th will manifest. The world will feel it in sudden events. What was stable may tremble, what was hidden may emerge. Political shifts may surprise, natural forces may rebel, systems assumed secure may waver. Not all of this will be catastrophic, but all of it will be unsettling. Even those who dismiss spiritual matters will be forced to admit that something unusual is unfolding, that the day carries a weight disproportionate to its place on the calendar. The world will feel it in the collective psyche. Fear may spread like contagion, or confusion may ripple through conversations, media, and communities. At times, humanity senses danger without seeing it, dread without evidence, disruption without clarity. This is because the soul knows what the mind cannot yet name. September 24th will disturb that collective consciousness. People will wake uneasy, carry heaviness in their steps, speak of strange dreams, or confess a sense that something is off. That is the pulse of a world responding to shadows pressing into the day, The world will feel it in exposure. Secrets long hidden may be thrust into light. Scandals suppressed may break open. Lies told confidently may suddenly unravel. When a date is marked in shadows, it is often accompanied by revelation. Horror is not always about disaster. Sometimes it is about truth tearing away the mask. September 24th may reveal what many wished to keep concealed, and the collective shock of exposure will ripple outward, stirring nations, institutions, and individuals alike. The world will feel it because no nation, no system, no community is isolated. The illusion of separation collapses when global tremors arise. What unfolds in one corner of the earth echoes across others, whether through media, trade, alliances, or simple human empathy. September 24th is not a local prophecy. It is a universal warning. The horror it carries is not confined to one people. It is the mirror of a world interconnected, where every disturbance resonates across the whole. The world will feel it in symbols. Some will look to the sky and see strange patterns. Others will notice numbers repeating, dreams intensifying, synchronicities multiplying. The ordinary will be charged with extraordinary meaning. To the unprepared, these will feel like accidents, random curiosities. But to the awakened, they will be unmistakable signals. The world itself is speaking, creation itself testifying that something is shifting. The world will feel it in conflict. Where there is already tension, it may intensify. Where peace seemed fragile, it may rupture. Leaders may falter, decisions may escalate, voices may rise louder in protest or rebellion. The disturbance of the unseen often stirs unrest in the seen, for what presses against the soul eventually expresses itself through society. The horror of September 24th may not be an isolated disaster, but a swelling of unrest, a manifestation of long, hidden fractures now demanding attention. The world will feel it not only in chaos, but also in awakening. For while many tremble, others will rise. Times of global disturbance always create two kinds of people, those who collapse under fear and those who awaken to power. On September 24th, some will feel only dread, but others will feel a call, a stirring in their spirit to step into the role they were born to play. The same signs that terrify some will ignite courage in others. The same shadows that confuse many will clarify truth for the few. This is the paradox of a day marked for the world. It divides not arbitrarily, but according to preparedness. The world will feel it in acceleration. Events that seemed far off will suddenly speed up. Plans delayed will suddenly erupt into action. Prophecies spoken long ago will suddenly feel immediate. This acceleration is unsettling because humanity prefers gradual change, but destiny often arrives suddenly. September 24th will be felt because it carries this suddenness, this intensity that shifts timelines and alters expectations. The world will feel it in the shaking of identity. Nations may question their place. Communities may question their values. Individuals may question their paths. Horror is not always external. Sometimes it is the crisis of identity when illusions fall away. When the old structures crumble, the soul must confront what it truly is. September 24th will press humanity toward this confrontation, forcing reflection, even if through disturbance. The world will feel it in silence as much as in noise. Sometimes the horror is not the roar of catastrophe, but the absence of expected sound, the eerie stillness before the storm, the sudden quiet that unsettles more than chaos. The silence itself will be felt, a pause heavy with meaning, as though creation itself is holding its breath. On September 24th, that silence may descend, and the world will know that something has shifted. The world will feel it because it is not an external accident, but a spiritual appointment. Time itself has been marked. The energies of the unseen press against the seen, and humanity cannot escape the ripple. Some will try to ignore it, returning to distractions, but the echo will not release them. Others will deny it, calling it coincidence, but the weight will remain. The world will feel it because it is written into the rhythm of time itself. When the world feels a day, history records it. It may not be understood immediately, but in hindsight, people will look back and say, that was the day everything shifted. September 24th carries that potential. Whether through exposure, conflict, silence, or sudden acceleration, it will not pass quietly. The world will feel it, because it was never meant to remain hidden. Shadows stretch not to conceal forever, but to announce that revelation is near. Fear is a thief. It enters silently, uninvited, and once it takes its place within the mind, it begins to grow roots that entangle every thought, every action, every decision. Fear paralyzes the strong, blinds the wise, and silences the faithful. Yet readiness is its opposite. Readiness stands tall where fear crouches. Readiness opens the eyes where fear blinds. Readiness strengthens where fear weakens. On September 24th, the difference between the two will be revealed. The world may tremble, people may panic, and chaos may spread like fire in dry grass. But those who are prepared will stand firm, untouched by the storm that unravels others. Readiness is not about storing up fear, hoarding supplies, or running from shadows. True readiness begins within. It is the state of a spirit anchored, a mind steady, and a heart unshaken. When horror comes, it is not the strongest in body who endure, but those who have mastered their inner world. Fear collapses because it feeds on reaction, but readiness lives because it is rooted in awareness. Imagine a lighthouse standing against the raging sea. The waves crash, the wind screams, and the storm hammers without mercy, but the light remains unmoved, guiding others through the darkness. That is readiness. Many confuse being watchful with being worried. They watch the signs of the times, the shaking of nations, the crumbling of systems, and they tremble, but trembling is not watching. Worrying is not preparing. To prepare is to remain calm while others lose themselves. It is to walk with certainty when others stumble. It is to keep the flame of hope alive when the winds of despair blow hardest. Readiness is strength disguised as peace. It is not loud, not frantic, not restless. It is silent power. September 24th is spoken of as a day of horror, but horror is only the test. The true lesson is in the response. Will you be one who falls into fear's trap, running, shouting, and hiding, or will you be the one who breathes deep, steadies your heart, and sees through the chaos to the greater purpose? The horror is a mask it seeks to frighten, but beneath it lies an awakening. For those who are ready, this day will not be terror, but transformation. Readiness is built long before the storm arrives. A soldier does not sharpen his sword in the middle of battle. He sharpens it in silence, in the days of calm, so that when the battle comes, he does not falter. Likewise, you must prepare your spirit now, not when the shaking begins. Prayer, meditation, faith, clarity of thought, these are your weapons. They are not seen, but they cut deeper than fear ever could. The one who waits until the storm arrives to seek shelter will be swept away, but the one who built his house on the rock long before will remain unmoved when the floods rise. Readiness also means detachment from illusions. Fear grows strongest in those who cling too tightly to the temporary. When your trust is placed in systems, money, titles, or even the illusions of control, the shaking will terrify you because you feel as though you are losing everything. But when your heart is anchored in something eternal, something unshakable, you cannot be moved. If everything collapses around you, you will still stand, because your foundation was never the world. It was the truth beyond the world. Readiness is not storing up treasures that moth and rust can destroy. It is storing up wisdom, courage, and faith, treasures no storm can touch. To be ready is to live with eyes open. Many walk through life asleep, unaware of the signs, blind to the shifts in energy, deaf to the warnings whispered in the wind. They move as though tomorrow will always look like today, as though life is unshakable. But when the ground cracks beneath their feet, they collapse in panic. The ready ones see the cracks before they appear. They sense the shift before it breaks open. They walk with awareness, not asleep but awake, not careless but careful. Their readiness is not paranoia, it is perception. Fear magnifies shadows. It makes small things look larger, ordinary things look threatening, and temporary things look eternal. But readiness sees clearly. It does not exaggerate the darkness, it pierces it. When others cry, it is the end. Readiness whispers, it is the beginning. When others scream, all is lost. Readiness answers, nothing eternal can be lost. Horror cannot deceive the ready, because the ready are grounded in truth, and truth exposes fear for the liar it is. Think of a tree in winter. The leaves fall, the branches look dead, and the world believes the tree has lost its life. But deep beneath the surface, the roots are alive, strong, and unseen. When spring comes, the tree blooms again, stronger than before. Fear looks at the surface and cries, the tree is dead. Readiness looks deeper and knows, the tree is preparing for renewal. So it will be on September 24th. Fear will see horror, but readiness will see rebirth. The question is not, what will happen? The question is, how will you respond? Because the truth is this: the same event that causes one to crumble will cause another to rise. The same shaking that destroys one house will prove the strength of another. The same storm that terrifies the crowd will reveal the peace of the prepared. The day will come, but what it becomes for you depends on whether you choose fear or readiness. This is why readiness is greater than knowledge. Knowledge without readiness becomes pride. Knowledge without readiness turns into panic when events unfold differently than expected. But readiness requires humility. It admits that we cannot control the storm, but we can control our response. It accepts that the horror may come in ways we do not expect, but it prepares the heart for every possibility. It does not demand certainty, it cultivates stability. Fear drains energy, readiness saves it. Fear breaks focus, readiness sharpens it. Fear creates chaos, readiness creates order. When the day arrives, those who live in fear will exhaust themselves fighting shadows, but those who are ready will walk calmly, their steps guided, their hearts steady. They will not waste energy resisting what cannot be stopped. Instead, they will use their strength to navigate, to rise, and to help others see the way. Readiness is not selfish, it extends beyond the self. The ready ones become pillars for others. When the masses tremble, the ready stand firm, and their firmness becomes a shelter for those who panic. The light of one prepared soul can calm the fear of many unprepared. The storm may rage outside, but inside the walls of a ready spirit peace reigns, and that peace spreads like fire through darkness. This is why the horror is not to destroy you, but to reveal you. It is to show you whether you were walking in fear or in readiness. It is a test, yes, but not of what you know, not of what you own, not of what you display. It is a test of what is within, and only those who are ready will endure.